Good evening and welcome to Justeventonline News at 9. I'm Anifat Ismail. The news headlines. Nigeria targets 7% annual growth. Shettima tells global partners at UNGA. Federal government promises health insurance for military men. SSANU, NASU extends ultimatum by 2 weeks. Kwara leads national effort to secure future of HIV, tuberculosis, malaria programs. Olohungbebe flags off digital ambassador for change program in Ilorin. Al-Hikmah University holds dialogue on community policing for peace. FRSC pushes for trauma center to help accident victims. CBN cuts benchmark interest rate to 27%. Now the news in details. Vice President Kashim Shettima has affirmed that Nigeria is targeting annual economic growth of no less than 7%, anchored on macroeconomic stability, improved productivity, and strategic investment in infrastructure, healthcare, agriculture, and education. Shettima, who stated this on Tuesday during a series of high-level bilateral engagement on the sidelines of the 80th United Nations General Assembly in New York, also called for a stronger relation between Nigeria and Namibia. Representing President Bola Tinubu, Shettima said Nigeria's growth ambitions were backed by reforms already underway under the Renewed Hope agenda. The federal government has promised that members of the Nigeria Armed Forces will be fully integrated into the National Health Insurance Authority, guaranteeing access to comprehensive health care for service members, their families, and eligible retirees. The Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawali, made the disclosure in Abuja during the celebration of the 20th anniversary of the Ministry of Defense Health Implementation Program's partnership with the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research, Africa. Matawale said the initiative will strengthen the resilience of Nigeria's defense health system while ensuring that soldiers and their dependents enjoy the same health safeguards as other citizens under the NHIA. The Joint Action Committee of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Universities and Allied Institutions has extended the strike ultimatum issued to the federal government by 2 weeks. In a joint letter signed by SSANU President Mohammed Ibrahim, the unions declared the unjust disbursement of the earned allowances of staff of universities, non-payment of outstanding allowances, among others. In a landmark gathering aimed at charting a new course for public health, the Kwara State government is hosting a 3-day stakeholder meeting from September 24 to 26, 2025. The event brings together key government officials, health experts, and international partners to validate a critical cost of doing business assessment. The exercise is designed to prepare the states for sustainable government-led transition of its HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria programs.
Is one where we have donors funding and leading the implementation of multiple vertical programs in the health sector. While this has many advantages, it also has severe drawbacks, and some of those drawbacks have become more manifest now that the financial landscape has changed. So more rapidly, quicker than we anticipated, we are now working towards increasing involvement, increasing participation, taking ownership, and ensuring state and federal financing for most of these programs, building sustainability into every program, and ensuring that there is homegrown solutions. There are homegrown solutions to our domestic problems. Now, regarding the future, what I think is going to happen in the future is that increasingly more funds will be allocated by the government of Nigeria at all levels. I'm talking federal, state, and increasingly the local governments. This means that there will be a little bit of prioritization, more emphasis on efficiency, because the bucket of funds, the pool of funds, is not just going to magically triple or quadruple. So we're going to be more centered around efficiency, effectiveness, cost effectiveness, better utilization of all kinds of resources, human resources, infrastructure. We'll leverage what we have and get more shrewd regarding raising funds for health.
The initiative, which is a collaborative effort between the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, UNITE, and the Global Fund, is a response to the significant reduction in global funding for development diseases. Dr. Alabi Selim Babajide, the Executive Secretary of the Kwara AIDS Control Agency, explained that the state is one of the few states selected for this in-depth assessment.
To have a high-level stakeholder negotiation on the cost of doing business analysis. Like, we are fortunate to be one of the select states in Nigeria that was selected for this exercise. And the idea is, because of donor pull-out and dwindling resources for us to implement HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria programs across the country, we have the support of the UNIDS and the Global Fund to do what we call a system and process assessment, to look at what we have been doing, how we have been doing it, looking at the MIE system, looking at the technical programmatic implementation. So that assessment has been done over the past couple of weeks, and that result has been sent back to national where it was analyzed. So we are here back now with high-level government officials, heads of ministries, government agencies, parastatals, networks, and all that, to listen to those funders who have done a critical analysis of the data sets that was gotten from the state. So they are coming back here to tell us how best we can get things done and put a cost element to programmatic implementations across the state.
Also speaking, Dr. Yewande Olaifa, the Deputy Director at NACA, said the discussion will focus on prioritizing interventions and identifying the resources required for the state to take responsibility for the programs.
We're here in Kwara to have a stakeholders engagement with respect to the cost of doing business and of HIV, as well as the TB and malaria program, and to see how we can move those programs forward for sustainability. The state has already done a preliminary assessment of what the program is looking like in their state. Today, we're going to be having a conversation about, are those interventions priority for Kwara State? And if so, how do we continue to implement it with the absence of a partner providing the management, particularly for HIV, and as well, what are the resources that will invariably going to be required going forward, whether it is human resource, whether it is tools, whether it is equipment and commodities, as the case may be. And then of course, agree amongst ourselves the different ministries, departments, and agencies that will take responsibility by virtue of their mandates in the state.
The Kwara State Commissioner for Education and Human Capital Development, Dr. Olohungbebe, has reaffirmed the state government's commitment to digital literacy and inclusive education, as he declared open the Digital Ambassadors for Change program organized by Shakiru Ibrahim Foundation. Speaking at the launching of the project held on Wednesday at the Nigerian Union of Journalists Secretariat, Ilorin, Olohungbebe described the initiative as a visionary program designed to empower youth leaders with digital competencies and ethical frameworks required for 21st century leadership. The training, which targeted selected youth community leaders, seeks to promote responsible and inclusive use of technology while bridging gaps in underserved communities across Kwara Central. The Commissioner commended the Shakir Ibrahim Foundation for its foresight, affirming the Ministry's readiness to support civil society initiatives that align with the state's vision for inclusive development. The convener, Shakir Ibrahim, said the Digital Ambassador for Change project, done in partnership with Addis and Luminat, aim to promote digital inclusion by extending access to digital skills and literacy to underserved areas, and also encourage ethical and responsible use of technology. The program featured keynote address by Abdulaziz Tajuddin, who speaks on empowering young community leaders to promote ethical use of technology and digital inclusion in underserved community in Kwara Central. The event was also acknowledged by Kwara Commissioner for Youth, Honorable Usman Indanusa, represented by Abdulkarim, Senator Mustafa State, Barrister Abdulkarim Alabi, Honorable Leka Gaddaf, among other dignitaries. In a bid to address the persistent security challenges facing the nation, Al-Hikmah University, Ilorin, commemorated the International Peace Day with a special dialogue themed Community Policing in a Polarized World as a panacea for sustainable peace and security in Nigeria. The event, organized by the Center for Peace and Security Studies, brought together academics, security agencies, traditional rulers, and students to discuss proactive solutions to Nigeria's security challenges. Dr. A.A. Adekola, the acting director of the CPSS, emphasized individuals and communities to take active role in promoting peace. He stressed that government efforts alone are not enough, while calling on all stakeholders to encourage their colleagues and partners to embrace peace. Delivering a keynote address, Professor Jeo Tv of the CPSS described community policing as a collaborative approach where security operatives and community members work together to address crime. Professor Tv, who highlighted several international benchmarks for effective community policing, also proposed a number of programs that could facilitate police-community synergy and sustain peace, such as drug abuse resistance education, neighborhood watch initiatives, and town hall meetings to foster communication. Also speaking, Dr. Umar G.J. Mohammed, the Commandant of the Classic Command of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, who was represented by DCC Daoglenge, emphasized the Corps' commitment to peace. He underscored the critical need for collaborative efforts to ensure maximum security. The event also appealed to individuals, especially youth, to shun courtesan, hooliganism, and drug abuse. The event appealed to individuals, especially youth, to shun courtesan, hooliganism, and drug abuse. The participants were also embrace peace as 2027 general elections is approaching. The Federal Road Safety Corps has proposed the establishment of a world-class trauma center to alleviate the traumatic injuries and conditions of road accident victims and their families. Addressing reporters in Abuja ahead of the forthcoming International Road Crash Victims Africa Conference in Nigeria, scheduled for November, FRSC calls Marshal Shehu Mohammed said the proposed trauma center will be based on public-private partnership basis. The FRSC boss said Nigeria ranks among the countries with the highest road traffic deaths in Africa. The Central Bank of Nigeria on Tuesday reduced the monetary policy rate by 50 basis points to 27%, marking the first cut in 2 years. That decision followed 5 consecutive months of disinflation and was aimed at supporting economic recovery while maintaining financial system stability. Announcing the outcome of the September 2025 Monetary Policy Committee meeting in Abuja, CBN Governor Olayemi Kadoso said the committee reviewed recent macroeconomic developments and voted to ease the policy stance in light of improving inflation trends. And that will be all on Justeventonline news at 9. Here's the recap of the story. Nigeria targets 7% annual growth. Shettima tells global partners. Federal government promise of insurance for military men. SSANU, NASU extends strike ultimatum by 2 weeks. Coalites national effort to secure future of HIV, tuberculosis, malaria programs. Olohungbebe flags of digital ambassadors for change program in Ilorin. Al-Hikmah University holds dialogue on community policing for peace. FRSC pushes for trauma center to help accident victims. CBN cuts benchmark interest rate to 27%. Thank you for watching Justeventonline news. Remember, what is worth doing is worth doing well. For more news, visit www.justeventonline.com, and to read more updates, follow us on our social media platforms with a tab at Justeventonline. You can also send us an email on justeventonline@gmail.com. I'm Ismail. Good night.